As we continue our conversation about stretched capacity, one of the ways that we find that actually snaps our teams is a lack of trust, or something that erodes trust within the organization. Trust is a critical component for building culture in your organization, having teams that can connect and communicate, and having people feel resilient. And so as you think about trust in your organization and the trust in the individual teams, that trust can snap so quickly, and then you have to do what is called a trust reset. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about trust reset in your organization. It can happen one-on-one. It can happen with a team. It can happen with an entire organization within your company, or it can happen with a company as a whole. My first corporate experience was working for a technology company in the mid to late 2000s. And I worked for an organization that had offices all over the country and throughout the world. There were tens of thousands of employees, and I worked in one of the main corporate offices. And the sales department existed within this larger organization. And we also had sales reps who were all across the country and throughout the world. And we gathered for annual sales conferences. We would meet with sales counterparts in other parts of the organization. And it really gave me an insight as to corporate culture, corporate understanding, sales organizations, but then also how companies build and change. One of my least favorite parts about working for that organization was that every single year, our jobs changed in terms of what our focus was. Our quotas changed, our territories changed, our focuses changed. One year we went from focusing on our business to business customers, and the next year we were focusing on our partners or distributors, or the next year we were focused on just government and education. And so we were changing our roles and responsibilities so often that moving target made it really hard for us to really get deep into the skills of the company. And as such, we knew that things were going to change in another 12 months, and we didn't invest and develop the ways that we could or should if we knew those were long-term. We did the best that we could to bring the business in, to renew the contracts, to get the invoices done, to provide the sales proposals, to work with organizations to confirm their licensing counts. But we were really in a very transactional based or a business because of the way the culture was set within the organization. And as such, while that doesn't seem like one snap of trust or an erosion, we never had any confidence that we were going to stay with a group or book of customers for any period of time. Not only that, but we had quotas placed upon us about our sales goals that needed to be met. Also, there were sales incentives and rewards in terms of trips and things that could be earned, but those were harder and harder because you didn't have the relationships with the customers that gave you opportunities for upselling or getting new business. And so while they're continuing to say, you got to hit your quota, you got to meet the needs for the sales incentive trip, there was never really a way to hit that path that made you want to work hard to get it, because you knew that the target was just going to change year after year. And so while that was one of my first experiences watching corporate environments, now in a new world, almost 20 years later, we're dealing with trust between teams that are split between remote environments. We're dealing with trust between teams that are much more joined technologically, and we've got the onset of artificial intelligence and all of the other technological advances that are affecting teams and organizations. They still have the same challenge, multiple employees all throughout the country, all throughout the world, and yet it can be so quick to erode that trust or to snap that trust and cause setbacks in productivity, in employee engagement, in team building. And so I want you to be thinking about what you can do to rebuild trust and how you can use the trust reset in your organizations. For the purpose of this video today, I want you to think about how you can restore trust on a one-on-one basis. Restoring trust amid teams or even corporate cultures is a little bit trickier, and having conversations about ownership and who's responsible for that can also add to complexities and layers. But as you think about an individual person, maybe there's somebody who's not quite engaged. Maybe there's somebody who is previously engaged, working really hard, hitting goals, taking advantage of their KPIs, doing really well, but now they aren't. There is some sort of trust erosion that has happened, and there could be personal challenge, there could be burnout, there could be something else. But at the root of it, there might be a trust reset that needs to happen between employee and manager. And so I want you to take advantage or take careful care about how you can use a trust reset. There are 4 steps to a trust reset that are critical, whether you're dealing with a one-on-one situation or a team situation or even a corporate situation. But again, today I'd like you to put on the hat of thinking about an individual employee that you could reset trust with. The first is a statement of commitment and ownership. And that is just you saying, I understand that there might be something that has made you feel differently about working in this organization, or there might have been something that was done between you and your manager. Whatever it is, it's a statement of ownership that there might have been a trust erosion. It's a statement of ownership that something is different. And it's a statement of saying to your employee, hey, we know that there's a challenge here and we want to make a shift. It's one sentence. I encourage you when you're doing this trust reset to not be very verbose in each of these sections, but I want you to honor what's one statement that you can try on that is specific to this instance that will help you reset that trust and rebuild that commitment. The second is to make sure that you share that you're committed into a new way of moving forward. So you've got that first statement that acknowledges that the trust might have been eroded in some way, but that second is reiterating that you're committed to a new path moving forward. That while there might have been a challenge in the past, the quota might have changed, the situation might have been different, there might have been a challenge with a boss, there might have been a situation with a team member, that you're committed to moving forward and committed to helping them have success moving forward. So an ownership of the situation. And then the second step is the commitment to a new way of moving forward. The third step you can share a little bit more. There can be a little bit more detail in here, but share some specifics about the plan moving forward, about how you're going to take specific actions, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly actions, whether it's a specific plan or proposal that's going to be in place that will ensure that whatever happens doesn't happen again. Let's use an example for just a minute. There's an organization that I worked with where a boss made a commitment about a reward that was going to be given to someone if they completed a task. When they completed that task, the boss did not give the reward. And there are a lot of different challenges that are happening there and a lot of different things that need to be reset. And that's got to be a whole company almost reset. But in this particular case, the manager that was left to deal with the pieces of it had to make changes for the CEO and figure out a way to get that employee to continue to work. And so while we went through and said, hey, I'm really sorry that happened. It really shouldn't have happened the way that it did. I am committed to helping you find success moving forward. While we won't be able to rely on what was promised previously, here is what I am willing to do to help you. And here's how I will help you over the next 4 weeks to get back to the place that you were hoping to get and to help you move forward and work towards that salary adjustment that we were talking about. And then the last piece of the trust reset is a question of support. And this is where you open it up and you say, will you work with me on this? Or would you be willing to give it another try? Or will you work with me as we work through this challenge? Or under what circumstances would you be willing to work with me through this? It's very similar to the communication and enrollment process that we talk about in the Make It Happen blueprint and that we teach in corporate communication. But in this case, we're using trust language that helps to take ownership for the situation, commitment to the ways that we move forward, create a plan of action, but then also to get their buy-in that they're willing to work with you. If you just say the ownership, the statement of commitment, and the plan without getting their buy-in, then you're actually not rebuilding trust. You have to have that statement of commitment that resets for not just you, but for them as well, that they are committed to making a path to move forward. What's interesting is that our research shows that while trust can erode really quickly, to rebuild that trust takes time, which you know. But what the research also adds is that people are willing to provide forgiveness or give a company a second chance, or even a boss or manager that they don't care for a second chance, if they feel confident that the lesson has been learned and that they can move to a new level. So that trust is rebuilt in the proof over time that the new chapter is opened and the new commitment and the ways to work will be continual and can be counted on moving forward. That trust reset is so important, but as you think about involving them in these conversations, you do have to start with your own ownership first. It can't be a question that says, hey, are you willing to move past this? It has to have all the pieces, the commitment and the ownership, and as well as the plan, and then the question. So don't jump the gun and go straight to, hey, let's just move on. It's going to be great. Are you willing to move on? Show them the path that allows them to see the way that it will be different in the future. And that is a true trust reset. I am so glad that you're here for this series on stretch capacity. We have other videos to share with you. If you've missed previous videos, I encourage you to go back where we talk about appropriate stretch, how to stretch your team without snapping, and how to utilize stretch both in your personal and professional lives. But stay tuned, because there are more videos about understanding how we can stretch and use trust within our organization to get the productivity that you want. Stay tuned.